Welcome back, operators and GMs out there. Make no mistake, key performance indicators, your financials are vitally important, not only to your success, but your survival. These are the toughest times ever running restaurants. There's so many operators out there that aren't taking regular inventory or think that's placing next week's order, that aren't calculating their prime cost, which is the industry benchmark to know, are you making money or not? Don't have any idea what their daily break even is, what it takes to open the door, turn the lights on, have food ready to sell, have staff ready to prepare the food and serve the guests. What does it cost every single day to do that? I ask these questions of operators all the time and they just can't answer. What are your most profitable menu items? Okay, these are all vital to your future success. So today's episode is with Kevin Morrison, who is with Butter Hospitality. He's a 40-year restaurateur. He's got an intimate knowledge of restaurant finance. We had an excellent conversation all about things you should be thinking about today. You're not going to want to miss this episode. As long as we're talking about restaurant systems, let me tell you, we have a sale right now on our Restaurant Academy where the very first month is 50% off, and it's already reasonably priced. If you want to talk about KPIs, putting financial systems in place in your restaurant, turnkey, training your staff in not only, accountability and performance, but also salesmanship so that your sales increase and trackable marketing programs. There's so much in the Academy that'll improve your business. So check that out at restaurantrockstars.com. And again, use the code FIRST50 at the checkout page and you'll get 50% off the first month. If you have any questions or if I can help you in any way, reach out to me, ROGER at restaurantrockstars.com.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Beaudoin.
Did you know McDonald's boosted sales by 30% just by making ordering easier? You can do the same with Menu Tiger. It's all about guest convenience and efficiency. Best part, you don't need a fancy tech setup or kiosks. Menu Tiger allows your restaurant to create digital menus, take online orders, track sales and guest preferences all in one app. With Menu Tiger, you'll see faster orders, higher check averages, and happier guests. It's built for any size restaurant. Go to menutiger.com and start your free trial today. This is the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. So glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Kevin, welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Roger?
I'm excited to have you on the show. Now, you've got 40 years of experience in this business. It's a true passion project for you, as it is for me. But tell us, why restaurants? What brought you into this so long ago?
Man, I went to one of my first restaurants. I remember walking in the kitchen. I remember my dad knew the chef there, and he introduced me to him, and I was just in awe. I love the atmosphere. I love the noise. I love the hustle on the line. I just got addicted to it. So I tried college for a semester. This was 1983. My parents wanted me to try college. So I went. It wasn't for me. Did great on weekends, going through class Monday through Friday wasn't for me. Just jumped into cooking and loved it. Never looked back.
Fantastic. We were talking before we jumped on this interview about it's not just putting out pretty food. It's about running a business, not a restaurant, right? And not everyone that's an owner or a chef really has those business skills, but it's so important to, like I said, run a business. What made the difference for you and how did you acquire those skills?
Luckily, at my first restaurant, one of the investors was my brother, who was a CFO of a large company at the time. And he helped me a lot with the finances. My wife at the time, she was a forensic accountant. So I was covered there. And since I was the culinary guy, the creative guy, I had all that. And honestly, they helped me mold myself to learn the financial end of it and to understand the importance of it. And so luckily I had some great mentors built in. And that's honestly kind of what boosted my career for going from one restaurant to 5 restaurants.
Rock solid foundation there. Thank you so much for
Gotta
sharing.
have a foundation.
So vitally important. Let's talk about your first restaurant startup, because this is the school of hard knocks, is when lots of mistakes can be made. You can lose a ton of money in this business. And I certainly learned a lot in the early days to learn how to make money. Let's talk about your startup challenges and any mistakes you made early that you quickly corrected. And now you coach other people on what to avoid.
Yeah. So my very first restaurant, a buddy of mine, in Denver, we started a sandwich shop called Spicy Pickle and didn't know anything about locations, A location versus a C location. We went where the rent was cheap. And we looked at it as if it didn't make it, we could both afford our half of the rent, which was $600 a month. So we had $1,200 a month rent. If we didn't make it, fine. I had a produce business at the time. We could cover it and just use Boar's Head meats, cut everything per order. And it was great because he brought certain skills to the table. I brought certain skills, but we definitely made mistakes. We didn't hold money back for taxes the first year. We were paying ourselves like crazy. So we got into a jam there, but then we quickly learned about cash flow, reached out to my brother. And after we got into a jam, he jumped on board more about being an advisor for me. And then when I opened my first brick and mortar solo, he was an intricate part of that deal.
Go ahead. Keep going. Yeah.
No, I just said learning the hard way is so many restaurateurs go that way. And that's why I jumped into coaching because it's later in my career. My restaurants, I have a director of ops. He oversees day to day. So I'm trying to save the next generation that's coming up. I'm trying to save them all the hard mistakes that I learned. And everything's more costly now. You don't have the margin for error like you did back in the, early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-pandemic margins were low and post-pandemic even lower. I think pre-pandemic, they said you were doing well if you could wring 10 to 12% net profit. And now post-pandemic, there's a lot of restaurants in the 8% range, the 5% range, a lot of them on the edge of disaster. I had a 24% profit margin in my operations, and that was obviously post-pandemic or pre-pandemic. But is there a benchmark right now? And what are you seeing?
What I'm seeing is not good. It's single digits.
Yeah.
My restaurants, luckily, because the systems we have in place, we're reaching high teens, low 20s. What I'm seeing is the restaurants don't have the systems in place, starting with theoretical food costs. So many clients that I speak to, and possible clients, they don't know their theoretical food costs. They don't cost out their menu. And I always use the analogy. It's like going on a road trip in a car, not having a gas gauge. You don't know how long it's going to last. And it's not an easy task, but it's a task that has to be done. And that's where technology does come into play, is to have a simple system, whether it's Margin Edge, R365, although R365 is not that simple, but there's a few systems out there, menu costing systems that you plug the numbers in and it's real time. And that's what the operators need are real time numbers, not an Excel spreadsheet.
That's such a dangerous game if you're not costing out your menu and running by the seat of your pants and just randomly throwing prices on the menu at something and you don't know what it costs to serve that to the guest. And you can have a busy restaurant filling your seats and you're just scratching your head saying, why is my bank account not growing? Why can't I make payroll this week?
Yeah.
It's like I've seen these things and it's so frightening. It's just scary stuff. Let's dive into the systems, okay? Let's say you're coaching a new operator that's just getting into the business and this is such a glamorous business. It's like everybody wants to be in the restaurant game. And it's, I got grandma's secret recipes and everyone's going to love my restaurant. It's like, where do you begin? What would you consider to be the foundational systems to get this person on track as quickly as possible to not lose money?
I always focus on the back of the house, and it's probably two reasons. One, I'm a back of the house guy.
Yeah.
And two, it's usually 70%. Even if you're serving alcohol, it's 70% of your business. So you're doing, let's say you're fortunate enough to do $2 million a year. What is that? 1.4 million in food sales.
Yeah.
So I start there.
Okay.
Everything starts with costing out your menu. You have to know what every item costs. You have to know portion control. You have to have systems in place to know how much you're selling. And those systems could be easy. I give my new clients an Excel spreadsheet and do their PMix every night, because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we sell a lot of this dish. But until you're actually getting the product mix from the POS or register, whatever you have, and you're writing it down and it's in front of you, numbers don't lie. You got to have the data to make the good decisions. To make the decisions, you have to have the right data.
Absolutely right. I speak to a lot of restaurant owners and GMs when I travel and speak at food shows, and I ask them a couple of questions. It's like, what are your most popular items? And they're like, oh, this flies out of the kitchen. My guest would kill me if I took this off the menu. And then you say, what are your most profitable items? And they're like, they give you a blank stare. Or I
Yeah.
love this one. It's like they think inventory is placing their next order versus calculating the true value of their goods on hand at a given point in time. And it's, wow, these are such fundamentals. So these are systems that we're talking about. And you clearly you're a back of house guy, like you said, and these are critical things. Let's talk about cost of goods for a moment, because there's this fallacy that I learned a long time ago. Like, this industry is obsessed with food cost. And yes, you need to calculate your food and beverage costs. And we're going to talk about prime costs in a minute, but they're so hyper focused on having a low food cost when it's really all about profit, because you take profit to the bank. Do you want to speak to that a bit?
Yeah, you take dollars to the bank, have percentages. So
Yeah.
early in my career, it was all food costs, lower, lower. And then once I started learning, I worked for an owner in Chicago that was just a great owner. He was a back of the house guy, a great chef, but he understood the business end. And he was the one that really taught me about profit margin. And you have to know food costs is great, but you want the margins. You want the dishes that make you the most money. And it's as simple as just costing it out and seeing what you charge. If your goal is 30%, take the cost by 0.30. That gives you the menu price. That's just a starting point. You can go up or down from there. It's really identifying the money makers and doing some menu engineering about menu anchoring is so popular now, to have that on the menu, but that does work. And just the education that goes with knowing your most profitable item and working with the front of the house on selling that dish. And it's not just pushing it down the guest's throat. You got to read the guest, but it's important that the staff knows what the most popular dishes are. And if you design your menu well, all your dishes will be making you money. But of course, naturally, there's going to be dishes that stand out and make you a hell of a lot more than other dishes. And you want those as your number one sellers.
Yeah, that's true. You can do a quick menu reprint. Once you figure it out, which items are the most profitable to sell, you can box those things in, highlight them, call them guest favorites, whatever. But more importantly, it's like training your staff to sell. Product knowledge, knowing those menus inside and out, knowing which dishes are the most profitable, giving choices and benefits and bringing things to life. That's salesmanship. And I don't see a lot of operators.
That's key.
You know what I mean? Training their team. Because you mentioned it's all about cash flow. Like, cash is the lifeblood of your business. And if you don't have cash flow, it's like you're on your way. Yeah.
They don't call it cash king for nothing.
Very true.
But
Absolutely.
that is key, is training the front of the house staff, and not just how the dish is prepared, but why this dish is on the menu, why our chef put this on the menu at this time of the year, and what goes into it. And then you get into the preparation. Was it braised, grill? And that's important. The server is telling the story, and they have to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, it's so interesting. That's another thing that I guess my restaurants were a little different, because I trained everyone in the front of house in product and restaurant knowledge, and I quizzed everybody, and I kept their feet to the fire all the time. And we had contests and incentives, and anybody could make a suggestion, including the bussers, or some people call them backwaits.
Sure.
So it was like this choreographed service where we weren't missing opportunities. We were capturing sales opportunities. But more importantly, it was giving guests a better dining experience when everyone was knowledgeable. I always hate it when I travel, Kevin, and you go into a restaurant and it doesn't matter what the price point is, and you ask a question, and half the time you got an order taker, but they say, oh, I don't know, let me go ask my manager. And to me, that is such a negative impression versus someone who's knowledgeable that can tell you anything that you answer, plus sell it. So that's a skill set to be developed.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard. I don't know why, but I think service is, I don't know if operators are losing focus on it, or it's just not great.
It's a lost art,
And
really.
and I don't care if you're going into a fast food restaurant where you order at the counter, or it's a fine dining. Service is so important, making the guests feel welcome, giving them a reason to come back. There's so many restaurants out there. It's a saturated market.
Right.
And everything is so expensive. The guest just wants to be taken care of. There's times I go out to eat just because I don't want to cook, and I just want someone to take care of me. And then you go out and you have a bad experience. And even though I was a back of the house guy my whole life, to me, service is way more important than the food.
Hospitality, that's the word, right?
Yeah, that's it. To me, it's the easiest thing to do in a restaurant. Hands down, the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, treat everyone like they're the most important person in the room, even if they're a first-time visitor, and make them feel like they're a regular. And
Yeah,
and
and especially the first time visitor. I read a survey, it takes, what is it, 4 visits until a guest is a regular. So when you have a first time guest, and if you can find out they're a first time guest, then the manager might do an extra table touch, give them a reason to come back. And
yeah,
I don't care if it's a kickback, you can do something as simple as, hey, here's a free drink card for the next time you're back. You can, if it's a higher end restaurant, hey, here's my number. Just call me personally. We'll get you in. We'll get you in whenever you want. At different scales for different levels of service for different concepts, but it all works. The guests want to be taken care of, and when you get that first time guest, man, make sure they're coming back the second time, and then it's just a snowball effect.
you're on target right there. I mean, so it's not just a manager. The manager is a certainly important touch point to make this person feel special, but I always thought it was important for many people to thank the guest on their way out the door as if they're the Queen of England. You get the idea.
Yeah.
And it was not uncommon that literally walking from your table to you've paid your check, you're walking out, and multiple people that cross your path that are front of house ambassadors are thanking you and welcoming you to come back or inviting you to come back and leave a positive review too. Isn't it? I always found it unfortunate, and it's human nature that at the slightest infraction, people are slamming restaurants today, even seemingly innocent things. If the guest feels wronged in some way or something just didn't go right, there's a negative review. And of course, you have to answer to those and make it right for the guest. But you almost have to ask for positive reviews today for people to go out of their way and say, oh, that was a great experience. I'm just going to go leave them a positive review. Do you see that too? The top independent restaurants choose Menufy to not just compete, but stand out from the competition. Menufy powers your growth with direct online ordering, smart SEO, guest marketing, and reputation management all in one place. Get a custom branded SEO optimized website, complete data ownership, and automated tools that drive loyalty and feedback without giving up 30% to third-party platforms, plus chargeback protection and 24/7 support. Learn more at restaurant.menufy.com.
I see it. I definitely see it. And it's not just the hospitality industry. I just found a dentist here in Calgary because I just moved here. Excuse me.
Yeah.
When they followed up with a text message after I left and say, hey, thanks for coming in. We're glad you're a client now. Would you mind giving us a Google review? It's everywhere you go. And we started at my restaurants in Denver, and I felt awkward at first, for sure, because it's like I'm asking people to go out of their way and speak highly of us. But when they're having a great time, if you do it in the right way, you get comfortable with it. And it's not cheesy. And one of my restaurants, it's a higher end seafood restaurant, all wood fired, about $60 a person. And it's just how we ask them to do it. I'll tell you, it's a huge benefit. You start to see those Google reviews just start climbing. And we all know how important Google is. It's like the Amazon of technology. It's everywhere. So you got to get it into that algorithm, boost your reviews. And there's nothing wrong with asking for reviews.
Yeah, and it's definitely the way to get it. And it's, again, you got to look for every competitive advantage in this business because, like you said, it's a saturated market. And unless you're like bending over backwards to really treat everyone so special and make them feel like that's my place, I use the word affinity. I love the word affinity. It's a powerful sense of belonging or loyalty to a business. And that's literally your goal. And it starts, like you said, with hospitality and the service component. And that it starts there. You need great food, of course. You need a comfortable ambiance. But I always believe that the hospitality and the service is the most important thing that'll even overcome. You do something wrong or not everything with the meal was perfect. But if you went out of your way to deliver hospitality, I think that gives people a second chance and you'll try someone again. And then you build that loyalty. My team would introduce themselves by name, create relationships with every guest, and then people ask for your team by name. It's simple stuff, like you said, but that's one of the magic formulas for hospitality right there.
Yeah, it's simple and it's fun. At our seafood restaurant, we would bring guests because we have a chef's counter right in front of our wood-fired grill.
Awesome. I love that.
And we had these 2 guests and they were like paying more attention than anybody. about the grill, and I just happened to be there. I'm not in the restaurant. This was a few years ago. So I
Okay.
was talking to them, and they were asking about the grill, and I'm like, "Are you guys in the business?" And they're like, "No, we're looking for a grill for our house, and we want to do a wood-fired grill on the patio. We don't know anything about it. Well, there's no better time than now." So we went, and it was busy. It was a Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday nights are our busiest night.
Uh-huh.
I took them back there, and they both stood there, and they're like, "Are you sure?" Because it's a small kitchen. I love small kitchens.
Yep.
And they stood back there, and it was so hot. It's hot, obviously. as you
Yeah.
can
Small
imagine.
kitchens for sure. Yeah. The heat
But they
of the
thought it was the coolest thing in the world to go back there. And the other guests are looking, and everyone starts talking. But it's little things like that that goes a long way.
No doubt.
And
That
it's
was
just it's so memorable.
Oh yeah. Wow. I was almost going to ask, did you let them cook on the grill to see? Did you let them
We
put
didn't let them
meals
cook,
out?
but
Yeah.
I did invite them back at another time
Nice.
and
Yeah. Check
said,
it
"Hey,
out.
if you guys, we'll show you how to build a fire. We'll show you how to cook on the hot spots, what to cook on live fire versus coals. We'll do that, no problem." They ended up buying a gas grill.
Yeah.
You just turn it on and it's good. They didn't
Right,
want the
right.
hassle because they sat there for about an hour and a half and they saw you got to keep.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
You got to manage it, and
Mhm.
it's not the same every night.
It's not a convenient thing, especially at
No.
home. It's like you want to have people over. It's like a process, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, get a Weber. Just start with a Weber.
I think the point you're making is that was a personal touch to that couple, and that was marketing right there. And you couldn't pay for that kind of marketing because the word of mouth, perhaps, that came from that, them probably becoming loyal guests because you took the personal time to show them something to help them with that situation. Even if they did buy a gas grill, it's wow. Not everybody does that. And again, there's a competitive advantage. So kudos to you for doing that. I totally,
It's fun to do.
yeah.
You got to have fun with the guests. It's a hard job. Hours can suck a lot of times, but I always loved once we opened, that was the easy part for me because all my business stuff is done. Pre-opening is done. The prep is done. And then it's just having fun with the guests and the staff. And once in a while, when you get those nights that everything just clicks, because there's nights the wheels fall off. No matter who you are, the wheels come off the track. But man, when you have that night that everything just clicks, it's just the best.
And that's what draws people to this business. Because even if in the heat of battle and the heat of the kitchen and all that kind of stuff, this team spirit, right, where people really enjoy working together. And we got something going when these people want to hang out together when they're not working on their days off and stuff. But
right.
that's the chemistry between the team. And I think one of the challenges is having the chemistry between front of house, back of house, because that can be a little push-pull sometimes, right?
It can be, for sure. Back in the day when you and I were coming up, there was a defined line, front of the house and back of the house. And now they're a lot closer together. And at least I like to say in my restaurants, not because of me, it's because my director of ops,
Nice.
that line is very minute.
Awesome. Let's shift gears. Let's dive more into the finances because I know you really specialize in prime cost, which is misunderstood in some cases. Not every operator knows what it is, uses the formulas, all that kind of stuff. Give us a crash course in prime cost.
It's as simple as saying it's cost of goods sold plus labor, and that's prime. Hopefully you're around 60%. So cost of goods sold is everything that goes onto the plate to make the food, everything that goes into the glass to make the cocktail or wine or beer. Those two numbers together, plus your total labor, is your prime cost.
Expressed as a percentage. So you're saying, okay, so you mentioned the word 60, and to me, that's on a little bit of the danger scale, right? And I know the benchmark used to be somewhere between 50 and 55. Now, 60 because labor is so much higher, and that's still, I mentioned dangerous because just to summarize, okay, that means that your cost of goods and your labor represents 60 cents of every dollar that comes in the door of sales.
Yeah.
But our laundry list of expenses for the other 40 cents is like huge, okay? You got the lease on the property, you got repairs and maintenance, you got the dumpster in the parking lot, the linens if you've got linens, you got utilities, you got phone bill, you got internet. I'm missing about 30 things, but right?
And then debt.
There you go.
You got debt on that. So
Correct.
yeah, the benchmark is 60. If you're fast casual, 50 to 55.
If it varied.
Yeah, 50 is better, but for full service, 60%. So if you can do 30 COGS, 30 labor, and then 20 for all other expenses. And that's the number. And The 60%, I tell my clients, you get to decide how you come up with 60. If your labor's 40, you got 20% for COGS. And what I'm seeing is 63 and under, you're making very good money. At 63%, you can still make really good money. You're leaving some money on the table. So at that point, we're talking 1-2%. It's up to the operator. But when you're at what I'm seeing right now is a lot of restaurants in the low 70s. And that's the danger zone.
Ooh,
That's when you're losing money
yeah.
or your percent profit is 1, 2, low single digits.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So this is such a critical point, and I know our audience is listening to this. So how do you begin? If someone's not even calculating their cost of goods right now or their labor on a weekly basis or taking
Yeah.
inventory, it's overwhelmed. Like you talk about it, right? It's burnout. I'm there 60 hours a week. I got labor issues. Where do you start? And where do you find the bandwidth when it's so critically important? Like you're coaching clients to do this. Like this is a priority, right?
Yeah, it's a priority. And my clients are mom and pops, 1, maybe 2 restaurants. I'm working with a group, and right now they have 4. So they have some infrastructure in place, which is great. But the mom and pops, when they're doing everything, it's a lot harder. So what I do is I break it down, and hopefully they're getting a P&L. I've had a client, they don't even get financial statements every month. Like, okay, we got to start there. So I'll work with them in their accountant, and we'll get the P&L, and I do what I call prime math. So we figure out where their prime cost is now. And I worked with a client last week. I met with a client. Their prime cost was 75%, and they're doing 1.5. So okay, that's 15,000 for every percent. You should be close to 60. So we did the math, and I got their attention with what the delta was. And then you get their attention. And once you get that, then you're golden. And we start. Of course, they don't have the recipes costed out. So that's where we start. That's where I start with my clients. You have to have your recipes costed out. You have to be doing weekly manager meetings. And I don't care if it's you and your wife, it's you and your GM, your chef, your bar manager, whoever it is, you have to sit down, and there has to be accountability there. There has to be consistency. There has to be a program. And so I help them develop those meetings. And it's something as simple as SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Everybody has it. So we start there, then they can customize it. And then after that, it's breaking down the P&L into 3 sections. Your COGS, your labor, and then obviously that equals your prime costs, and then all other expenses. And I give them, we come up with numbers. I kind of start it. This is where you shoot for it every category. And you have 30, 30, 20. And hopefully you get 30, 30, 20, because that leaves 20% over for net profit.
Vitally important.
Yep. Yeah. And then we start with that, with the figure out your theoretical food costs, then the importance of inventory. So many operators are not doing inventory. So I get them doing it monthly. And then once they're comfortable at monthly, then we go to every 2 weeks, then we go to every week. And I tell operators, if you're not hitting your food costs, you should be doing it weekly. And there's some of my restaurants, we do our protein, we check it nightly, but we're doing weekly inventories. But so many operators wanting to do monthly inventories.
I know. I always did inventory weekly to find what I called the sweet spot. And as long as we stayed in that sweet spot, then we went to a 30-day inventory. And then if it deviated, then you go back and you zero in. And we did that. I recommend other restaurants do that, at least when they're starting the process, because they might hit a 36% food cost the first week they take inventory. They take it again and it's a 34. They take it again, it's a 38. It's all over the place. They don't know what their actual cost is. They might have a theft or waste or spoilage problem or something like that.
Right.
But if you can hit that 36, 36 and a half, 36, 36, 4 weeks in a row, then you can go to a 30-day. And I used to say it's like not taking inventory is like leaving $100 bills all over your restaurant for anyone to take, because you got thousands of dollars of goods there until it's sold or it gets thrown in the trash. It's like, this is value, right? And one of the most important things to focus in on is efficient ordering and efficient utilization of the goods that you have on hand and making sure that you've got throughput. So we're totally on target with that.
Yeah. And then from there, if they do the theoretical food costs, they do an inventory, then they should be looking at product mix nightly to see what sells. And because they might be selling, like we talked about earlier, their best item might be their lowest profitable item. And you don't want that. So how do you get it where your best-selling item is your most profitable item? And it's not always, a lot of people think I'll just raise prices. No, you have to know where you're starting from. You're raising prices, but you might still be losing money.
No question. You mentioned portion controls. That again is so vitally important because you've got multiple people perhaps making the same dishes and using different quantities of ingredients on it. And this takes me back 30 plus years ago when I had this wood-fired pizzeria, and I'm open for 2 weeks 30 years ago, and I'm watching 3 different pizza makers make the same pizza on my pizza line. And one person puts 10 slices of pepperoni on that pizza, and the next person
Right.
put 12 and 13. I went to my kitchen manager, and I'm like, what's the spec call for? She's 10. I'm like, well, we've been open for 2 weeks and we sold a couple hundred pizzas a day and it's 2 extra slices. What's that cost? And this is the detail in this business, right?
Yeah.
Or you got servers that'll put 2 scoops of ice cream on a piece of pie when it calls for 1 scoop a la mode, just because they think they're going to get a better tip. And if you're not watching, and if you don't have checks and balances, think about all the little seemingly innocent stuff that, like you said, adds up. That's why I call it pennies equal dollars in this business, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, you're totally on target. What about daily break even? A lot of operators don't know what that is. Simple accounting, but it's so important. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm working with a client right now. They're open 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I said, do you know your break even for every shift? You have to know your break even for every shift. If you're killing it at lunch and dinner, but you're open for breakfast and you're losing money, losing money.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. And it's hard for a lot of operators to do it. And I get it. But I don't know where I heard this saying from, you get to choose your hard. Being overweight is hard. Being in shape is hard. Which hard do you want? Being successful in business is hard. Being not successful is hard. Choose your hard. So nothing is easy. So you have to know where you're making your money, but more importantly, where you're losing money, and either redesign it or get rid of it, 86 it. I'd say 99% of the operators that I speak to don't know their break even.
I see the same.
And if a restaurant is single digit profit or losing money, that's the first place we start. And they tend to get overwhelmed. So I try to make it as easy as possible for them. But you have to know what's the light at the end of the tunnel. If your break even is 3,000 a day and you're doing 1,000, that's a lot to make up. But if your break even is 3,000 and you're doing 2,800, that delta is a lot easier, a lot more manageable.
Yeah, and you got to track this and know which days. Okay, everyone knows which days are the slowest, so it's most important to track on those days. And like you said, if you're open multiple day parts, tracking every shift is super, super important. A lot of people don't realize that you can close a certain day and lose less money by being closed and by being open if you're not consistently hitting that break even week after week for all those shifts. And it's so hard to staff restaurants today. Labor is one of the biggest challenges, but yet some people think I've got to be open 7 days a week for consistency because I don't want to turn off my guests. And you can't lose money either. So very important.
Yeah.
Thanks for summarizing that.
Yeah, of course.
So
that's what I do. I love it.
Yeah. So tell us about Butter Hospitality, right? How long you been doing this? And obviously you're an expert in your field and now you help others and you call yourself a coach because, I like your website. It said all goats have coaches and it's so true.
So many people, especially in this industry, they don't ask for help until it's basically too late. And I was one of those persons ages ago. We had opened out of state, had 4 restaurants in Colorado, opened one in Arizona and was just struggling. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. I have an amazing crew. Everything's good. I'm not making money. And I'll never forget, I was out of town and my payroll company called me and they said, we're trying to move funds over for payroll and there's not enough money. And the stress that it caused. And I knew I should have asked for help, but I didn't. So I put my own money in and then next payroll came, put my own money in. And then I almost had a nervous breakdown and finally I asked someone for help and got out of it. I lost track of the question, so I apologize. But so Butter Hospitality.
Yeah, that's it. We're talking about butter.
Yeah, okay.
And how it all started and what you're doing now.
Yeah, and the coaches, all the goats had coaches. And it's true. If you look back, Gretzky, Jordan, Brady, they had their team coaches, but they also
performance
had their
coaches, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Nowadays, kids in high school, they have psychological coaches. They have people that do their diets for them and do meal programs. So asking for help is I call it a superpower. I didn't coin that term. It just happens to be a popular term. But the operators, from what I see as a coach, the operators that ask for help when their prime cost is at 63% versus 73,
Right.
those are the ones that are doing very well, because before the train goes off the tracks and before shit hits the fan, they're the ones that are realizing there's a problem here and let's stop it before it becomes too big and out of control. But in most operators, I think, and I had this mindset too earlier in my career, I'm the owner, I have to know everything. This was back, we're talking the 90s, I think, when I opened my first business. It is so much harder now with social media. You have to know some basics, but to try to learn social media, digital marketing, it's overwhelming and it's expensive. So you have to get help with that. And just because I came up, I was a cook, then I was a chef, doesn't mean I know the business end of it. Doesn't mean I know about debt or cash flow or reading a balance sheet or a cash flow statement. So there's the great operators are asking for help, long story short. And I wish more people understood that. I just wish that was out there. And it's like mental health now. People are talking about it.
Yes.
Everybody used to sweep it under the rug. Everybody's talking about it, which is awesome. It should be the same in business. Hey man, I'm a restaurant guy, or I'm a mechanic, I'm a hairdresser. I don't know the business end. I wish it was just, there was more talk of it. And that's why I jumped into coaching. And my whole niche is working with the independents, and I have nothing against the chains, but the chains, it's a lot harder to move the needle because there's so many people you have to go through. And a lot of times the franchisee does not have the authority to make specific changes, which there's good and bad for that. Because I was a franchisor in my one company, my sandwich shop. We started franchising, and there's a reason that you can't just bring in anything you like for the menu or the decor. There's a reason for that. You're buying this. But I wish more people would ask for help. And where I was going with this is I'm jumping into coaching because I want to make it affordable. I dedicate half my business to pro bono work. So however many paying accounts I have, I make sure I have that half of that in pro bono work, because so many times the people that need the help just can't afford it.
Beautiful.
And it's just sad. It sucks.
And like you said, if you wait too long, it's too late. There's a point of no return to this, where you just can't turn the ship around.
There is. And COVID changed so much. A lot of operators put money in their pocket because of the government, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But then you see them burning through it. And they think, okay, I have all this money, I'm fine. And then next month it's a little less. And they're like, I still have the money left. And then it's not until the money's almost gone. And they're like, shoot, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know where I'm losing. And that's when you make bad decisions.
No doubt about it. Kevin, you've been a wealth of information. I love talking shop with experts like yourself, and I know you added a tremendous amount of value to our audience. So thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I had a great time.
Fantastic. That was the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Thanks so much to our audience tuning in. Thank you to the sponsors this week. Can't wait to see y'all in the next episode. Stay well, stay tuned, and I'll see you then. That's a wrap. You know, I'll bet your menu isn't maximizing your profit. I've worked with many restaurants that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential profit because their lowest profit items were their most popular sellers, stealing sales from their highest profit items. Day in, day out, month after month. It's possible to train your staff to suggest your highest profit items immediately and then redesign a menu where every item in each category contributes a similar profit. You're in business to make money. Stop losing it with an unprofitable menu. My Turnkey Restaurant Academy has the solution. It's called the Menu Profit Accelerator at restaurantrockstars.com.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.